So there was this guy. His name was Jonathan. He was like buff, and then he was like, I'm mad. And then he had like hair, and that was pretty cool. And then he had a brother, and his brother was like, I have hair too. And then he was like, I'm angrier, and he's like actually like angry that. And then stuff happened. This guy's like, my dad is dead, bread. And then Deal's like, and he's like, I have been decapitated. And then he's like, I am now Jonathan. And then he's like, oh frick. And then he's like, sleepy time. So we have him the menacing symbols. The menacing symbols in Japanese mean sleep. And then there's this other guy. His name was Jonathan, and he was a pretty goofy guy. And he was like, and he had a friend which was named Shizar, and Shizar had hair, yellow hair. And then he had feathers too, and I thought that was cool. He was also a happy guy. And then this guy's like, yo, this guy looks like me, yo. And then no one cares, but and then they see these guys. They're like half naked, and they're like, I am Biller Boy 1, I'm Biller Boy 2, and I'm Biller Boy 3. And like this is Biller Boy 1 was like, I am Etika, and then Biller Boy 2 was like, I am Grandpa, and then Biller Boy 3 was like, I am Woman. And then this guy was like, boom, and then killed Caesar. And then this guy was like, aha, veins. And then hold on. And then the last one was like, haha, I had a hood, but now I don't, and now I have my luscious, beautiful hair. And then he was also kind of mad too, and he looked like a woman, so we're gonna give him blush. And then he was also kind of buff, so I'm gonna give him a torso. And then they were in. And then they were like, I hate this guy. And then there's this German guy, and he was like, And also in part 1, there was a guy named Speedwagon. I forgot to mention. He was like this, I guess. And this guy was like, I have a gun as a chest. Pew, pew, pew. And then he had like these things. They're like, and then they're like, and then he was like, you fool. I have the Asian stone of red. And then he became powerful, and he's like, the sun came up, and the sun was like, and then he was like, fool, I stand, take this, squirrel. That's not a squirrel. And a squirrel. That's a squirrel. That's a squirrel. And then Jojo was like, N-word. And then he started running. And then Cars was like, aha, you fool, I have wings now. And then Joseph's like, you fool, I have green plane. And then they were on a volcano after a while, and then Cars was like, you fool, I come from the ground. This is how I draw hands. And then Jonathan was like, oh no, my hand. And then he was like, fool, the red stone of Asian. And then Cars was like, ah! And then he just flew up into the space, and then he died. Okay, and then Joseph was like, man, I'm no longer young now. I'm gonna have, oh shoot, that doesn't work. So then he's like, I have white hair, and I have a beard, and he's like, and then he has a Walkman too, and it's like, cool, but I can't draw those. And then he has a child, and this child's like goes with the Japanese guy, and the Japanese guy has a son, and that son's in prison, and that guy is named Jotaro, and then he has this yellow thing on his hat, and then he's also edgy, so and then he has a coat too. He's like, ooh yeah. and then he's like, yo, check out my friend. That's Deal. And then he has this friend. Where do you get brown? It's an orange. Oh, okay. And then they have this guy named Abdal, and he was pretty cool. And then he had a stand called. Oh yeah, they have stands now, which is kind of cool. It's like the spiritual representation of like their. And it's cool because he has a freaking bird, dude. And then he's like, squawk. And then this guy's like, you fool, I have star platinum. And then he's like, rawr, and he's mad too. And so he's like, muda, da 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 da. And then this guy's like, you fool, I have hermit purple. And then they're like, yo, let's go to Egypt. And then they found this guy. He was wearing, I know what I'm talking about. Oh shoot, I went back in time. I bites the dust stuff. I need to draw Kakyoin again. I mean, not Kakyoin, Dio. And then he's okay. This is Dio, and then Dio's like asleep still. And then and this guy named Kakyoin, and Kakyoin's like, rawr, I am Kakyoin. Oh shoot, I didn't draw this right. He's Kakyoin, and he's like, he has pants too, and that's pretty cool. And then he has hair. That's pretty cool. He's like, he's also kind of happy. And then he's like, check out my stand. Hierophant gay. And then he has a mask too. That's cool. And then he's like, ah. And so then immediately after, he's like, Emeraldo Splasho. And then Jotaro's like, and then he grabs out Star Platinum. And then Star Platinum's like, ah! And then you're like, you can't just deflect the Emerald Splash. And then they're friends. And then they got the whole crew. They've got Kakyoin. They've got Abdal. And they've got Joseph. And they've got Iggy. I mean, that's Jotaro. And then they got Iggy. No, they have Iggy. No, they're in Egypt already. Oh yeah, they have White Etika too. He's like, wow. This is Abdul, right? Yeah. No, it's probably not. This is Kakyoin. This is Joseph. And this is Jotaro. And then they're like, I'm gonna go to some guy's house, and they meet some really gay guy who has a cream stand, and he's like, ah, I'm dead. And then he's like, and then Polnareff's like, ah, my legs are broken. And then no one cares. And then they go find this guy, and he's like, I am awake now. And then Polnareff is like, walk. And then he's like, no. And he's like, walk. No. And then, oh shoot, didn't mean to show you guys that. And then they go outside, and then they're like, ha ha, cack. Oh wait, I need to draw the scene too, because the scene is very important. And then they see this, and then they're on like towers. Oh, get rid of the C's, because he's not as. And then they're on towers, and then they're like, ah, I am Kakyoin, leader of the Jews. And then he's like, pew pew pew. And then this guy's like, pew pew. And then he's like, ah, I'm dead. Water tower. Bleh. And then he's at a clock tower. It's like, this is a clock. And then he's like, boom. Pew. And then Joseph's like, what the hell does that mean? And then he's like, what the hell does that mean? And I can't hear over CSGO Minecraft. I'm sure. Okay. So then Joseph's like, yes, I understand your message, Joe. And then he's like, and then they're like, oh, Dio, I am Jotaro. You kill my friends, I'll be mad. And trench coat. And then Dio's like, "You fool! I have my stando, Zawardo." And then he's like, I'm Zawardo." And then he's like, "Muda Muda." And then he's like, "What's this?" Roda roller roller rotor 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 dirler. And then Dio's like, "Ah, I am now stopped." And then Dio's like, "Ah, death." And then there is this guy, his name was Jansaku. He was like, "Rare," and he's like, "Bleh." He had a stunt called Crazy Man. It was like, he was pink too, so it was like, "Meh." So he's also mad. And then there's this other guy. His name was Yoshi, and then he had like hair, and then he didn't have hair, and then he had better hair, but then he didn't have that hair, and then he had different hair, and then he had the stand called Killa Queen, which is like a furry or something, and he's like, "Wow," and then he had like red eyes or something. And then they fight, and then they have this friend called Okuyasu with Zahando, and the Zahando's like, "Ah." And then friggin' and then they fight, and then they're like, and then that happens, and Jotaro's there too, and Jotaro stops time, and then he's like, then in part 5, there's this guy named Jono. He's like, me. And there's this other guy named Devil, and he was like, bleh. And then he was like, stop time for 10 seconds. And then he's like, kill friend. And this is his friend. His name is Bucharado. And then, they fought, and then it was like, you fool, my ladybug. This is the ladybug. He's like, ooh, I am ladybug. And then he's like, no longer ladybug. He gets stabbed, and it's like, ah! And then he's like, I have an arrow now. And then he's like really powerful. And then there's the part 6, and Jotaro's back, and he's like purple. And then there's this other girl, and she's like, my name is Johnny, and I'm back. And there's this guy, his name was Enrico Gucci. He has some nice hair. And then he's like, I love this Dio, dude. And then Dio's like, I watch over you, Simba. And then he like gets a stand, and it's called he's called Made in Heaven. And then Made in Heaven's like, and he's like, ooh. And then he's like, I'm a horse too. That's not a horse. But then he's like, speed. And then everyone else is like, ah. And then some guy is like, weather report. And then there's part 7 where there's this guy. His name is Johnny. And then Johnny's like weird. And then there's a horse. And then a guy, he's a funny Valentine dude. And he's like this. And he's like, he has a thing called Dirty Dudes Done Dirt Cheap. And then he's like this. And then he jumps between dimensions. And then part 8, there's this guy named Josuke, and he's like, yo. And then he has oh shoot. And then he has there's a Diego Brando, and this Diego Brando's like, I am Speedwagon. And then he has like a, what's he called? Stand? It's called Zawardo. No, that's not Zawardo. He has Zawardo, but like all caps, so it's like the world. And then they fight, and that's cool. And that's the end of Jojo.